Chapter 346 Ethereum Market. Reaching Tier 4 Sky Knight, Finmir quickly relocated his family to an inner place of the Empire. As he attained higher strength, Finmir naturally desired a better environment for himself and his family. With faster administrative processes, Finmir managed to move within only a few weeks. We will live here from now on," Finmir declared upon seeing their new home. "Oh wow, it's much bigger than our previous house. And not only that, but the mana density here is also much higher." However, upon entering, instead of celebrating, his wife frowned. "Oh, what's wrong?" "It's too empty." She looked around unsatisfied. Besides the array, the house didn't even have a table or chair. "Don't worry about that, we have money. We can buy whatever we want," Finmir said proudly. The house had been given to them for free. Because of his advancement, no money had been spent, and he still had his 700,000 crystal credits. The benefits of the Empire were truly great. As long as you had enough strength, you could get whatever you wanted. After settling his family, Finmir suddenly noticed a new app appearing in the Empire system. Ethereum Market? Puzzled, Finmir curiously opened the app. Ethereum Market. Materials. Weapons. Potions. Food. Puppets. Real market? Finmir muttered excitedly. In the past, the Empire's token also had a market. However, without a unified arrangement, it was quite chaotic. Except for those rare and higher-tier resources, not much was sold in it. However, seeing the items sold in the Ethereum market, it seemed that even mortal-level resources were sold. Furthermore, the app offered delivery services. His wife, upon seeing it, was excited. Originally, they had planned to shop around the city. But now that there was an online shop with complete items, they couldn't help but go on a shopping spree. Around the Empire, there was also a carnival. Although only about 30% of people got the new Empire system, the appearance of the Ethereum market still quickly spread. Having the resources of the entire Empire at your fingertips was thrilling to think about. As for worrying about fraud, they didn't worry. This was the app created by the Empire itself. It wasn't some merchant who would be greedy for their little money. It's not just the ordinary people celebrating the carnival. Various merchants who received the news about the application a few months prior were smiling from ear to ear. Hurry up, there are still over 20,000 orders to go," Hagrid shouted. Originally, his business was lackluster, without much exposure. But the appearance of the Ethereum market was a lifesaver. The redundant products he sold were so popular in other parts of the Empire that he nearly ran out of stock within a few hours. Thanking the Emperor in his heart, he urged his employees to hasten their work. Faster. There will be a big bonus if we finish our quota for the day." As the merchants were scrambling for their piece of the pie, Doran and various officials who cooked up the pie looked at the growing graph on the screen. "Chief Minister, the activity on the Ethereum market is exploding. In just a few hours, over 500 quintillion crystal credits were exchanged," the person monitoring the screen said joyfully. "This is over hundreds of quintillions in just a few hours." Imagining such a large amount of money flowing into the application they created, their smiles were uncontrollable. Furthermore, it's only about 30% of people who have the new Empire system. After everyone gets the Empire system and gets used to the Ethereum market, they guessed that the daily transactions would increase at least thousands of times. "Don't celebrate too early. If a problem crops up, the consequences would be disastrous," Doran said calmly. "It's only a few hundred quintillion." Knowing His Majesty spent at least septillions worth of crystal credits every year, a few hundred quintillions were nothing. The Ethereum market was created not to earn money but to make money flow. This has become a problem for a while. The value of credits in the Empire was falling. If it's not solved, it would greatly delay the development of the Moonlight Empire. "Don't worry, Chief Minister. We already checked the inscription program, there should be nothing wrong." That's good. What about the other applications? Did you review them?" Yes, so far, about over 100 applications passed the guideline protocol." When should we release them, Chief Minister?" Wait until all people in the Empire have the Empire system. Adding more applications now would only add to the confusion," Doran instructed. A few years later, Aha finally finished. After equipping all his people with the Moonlight Empire system and creating some spares, Maximus sighed in relief. Although he could split his mind to create the system, the work involved was still too much for him. Creating over 100 quadrillion systems at one time was harder than fighting day and night for years. Of course, the benefits were too much for him to complain. After equipping every person in the Moonlight Empire with the Empire system, the system points he received skyrocketed. From over 1 quintillion, now he received 12 to 13 quintillion system points daily. Besides the increase in population and consecutive breakthroughs due to the mana bank, his unlimited mana finally found a bottomless hole that it couldn't fill. Just the mana that everyone produced all the time gave him 10 quintillion system points. The Empire system was like an ultimate backdoor, using the body of its host for his mana to flow and absorb. The people didn't even know that mana had been flowing in them all the time and was being collected by their emperor. With over 10 quintillion system points daily, the excitement in his eyes couldn't help but flare up. Various crazy experiments that he shelved couldn't help but emerge. Especially various stalled experiments Valoros did in the past. Like the artificial physique and potential enhancer, the study of creating and manipulating dimensions, the application of the amalgamation of will, etc. Not only that, but he could also start to study the laws deeper. With over 10 quintillion system points daily, those laws finally didn't look so scary. With enough persistence, it would only take him hundreds of years to study the essence of a law to perfection. With over hundreds of thousands of laws, it would only take him a few million years to advance to Tier 9. Of course, this is not the end. Maximus would want to accumulate more foundation for the generation of system points before officially starting to advance to Tier 9. After all, to advance millions of years later was too slow. However, studying 1 or 2 laws was still possible. For now, the expansion of the empire was still a priority. Before that, however, Maximus needed to solve 2 problems, money and land. First is the land. Maximus will need to start putting it on the agenda. The population of the empire was rapidly expanding. In just a few years, tens of quadrillions were born in the empire, making the population reach 130 quadrillions. With the expansion of the population comes the rapid occupation of land. Although the Curse continent is enough to accommodate 1,000,000 times that amount without problem. It's better to solve this problem now than later. After all, people, especially powerful ones, need space. From farms, laboratories, factories, entertainments, academies, etc. It would be too late if he only started solving it once the problem cropped up. Furthermore, he also planned to poach people from other continents. Even if he only poached a percentage of their population, the whole Curse continent wouldn't be enough to accommodate them. The second thing he needed to solve was money. The empire's expenses had been growing faster than the population. Now, he needed to spend at least 2 quintillion dimensional coins yearly to sustain its current development speed. He only had a few tens of quintillion income every year from various transactions. If this continued, he would be bankrupt before he even achieved his goals. Solving the problem of money is a must. He couldn't just ask for money from his son when the day came. Thinking about it, it's time to set up an official shop in the Myriad World Mall. The dimensional library was already hidden, so it couldn't see the light of the world. Setting up a formal shop, where he could show publicly, should be a good disguise in the future. After all, his source of money still needed a disguise. The only problem was what to sell. His empire was still too weak to produce anything of worth. Even if he were to sell its produce on other continents, it may not be able to sell well, much less in the Myriad World Mall. As for the Etherforce reactor, he was still working on those. Up till now, it was still stuck on a 100 million discharge speed limit. Without a breakthrough, Maximus was too lazy to mass produce it. Without thinking of a solution, Maximus turned to his next step. His wives had been urging him to open the empire and start their grand wedding. Maximus promised that after all citizens had their system, the empire would be open. Now that everything was prepared, Maximus had no reason to delay anymore. It's time to open the empire. Chapter 347 Empire's Declaration. A grand celebration unfolded across the Moonlight Empire. The streets were filled with confetti, bustling stalls, enticing discounts, and various amusements, all testifying to the vibrancy of the empire. Every endeavor, activity, and significant event halted in deference to this auspicious occasion. This day marked a grand celebration, the official proclamation of the empire's establishment. Upon the vast screens adorning the plaza, a live broadcast from the imperial castle awaited the appearance of the emperor. Soon, amidst the gaze of countless people, emerged the supreme emperor of the Curse continent. Greetings, esteemed citizens of the Moonlight Empire, Maximus began, his voice commanding attention and respect. As the supreme emperor of this continent, I extend my salutations to you all. His greeting stirred a commotion, with shouts and cheers echoing throughout the empire. Yet, after a momentary pause, Maximus surveyed his subjects with a solemn demeanor. The Moonlight Empire has ascended from humble origins, evolving from a fledgling state to the undisputed ruler of this vast land. Countless sacrifices and hardships. Blood and tears. The Moonlight Empire and its people stayed strong, never gave up, fought to their last drop. Under our unrelenting effort, the Moonlight Empire stood the top of our continent. May you, the people of the Moonlight Empire, always bear this in mind. Persist without faltering, hesitate not, and fear nothing. Regardless of the trials we face, know that the Moonlight Empire stands steadfastly behind you, and I, as your emperor, stand as your unwavering beacon. As Maximus paused, the populace, moved by his words, silently clenched their fists, etching his words to their very soul. From that day forth, they internalized his words, embodying fearlessness in the face of adversaries yet to come. Be it fending off dimensional invasions or expanding their dominion across realms. They vowed to remember that an empire stood united behind them, guided by a mighty emperor who would lead them to triumph. I hereby declare the Moonlight Empire and its people shall be the rightful stewards of this cursed continent from this day forth. Together, we shall transform this blighted land into the paradise it was destined to be. After Maximus finished his speech, he quickly returned to his wives as they prepared for the wedding a few weeks later. Although the wedding would only invite family and close friends, there would still be thousands of people. Furthermore, the wedding was only the first part, the honeymoon was what they were preparing for. A year of schedule was already densely packed that Maximus had a headache just looking at it. While Maximus was busy with his wives, the silent continental array scattered across the empire started to work. The empire was officially open to the outside world. Goldfiend Vanderbilt, the richest apex sovereign in existence, inconspicuously exited one of the continental teleportation array. Is this the Moonlight Empire? Goldfiend muttered, looking around. As the owner and leader of the Ethereum Gold Chamber of Commerce, the creator of the Ethereum virtual stock market, and finally, the richest person in the world, it was his duty to investigate any emerging market where he could further his wealth. No matter how backward or dangerous a place was, as long as there was money to be made, Goldfiend Vanderbilt dared to come. Even the abyss was a territory that he had painstakingly opened. Unfortunately, a greedy brat stole his light and all his hard work. Lux Shadowcrest, this cursed brat, was like a devil who knew the ways of business since birth. Even as the richest person in the world, Goldfiend only had admiration in his eyes. If not for the protection of Rakasha, he would have long killed that brat. Furthermore, the goddess of luck, the little girl who stole his money, was still that little devil's sister. If he wanted to subdue that lucky little girl to be his apprentice, he couldn't harm any of her family. Anyway, in business, it's not the pioneer or the genius who earns the most money. It's the richest, the most powerful, and the most connected who get the most. In the Abyss stock market alone, he received 30% of the profit share, more than Lux. This is also why he didn't dare to kill Lux. Such a money-making genius, Goldfiend just needed to follow, and he could earn endless wealth without doing anything. Looking at the empire that gave birth to such prodigies, Goldfiend smiled with expectation. As he tried to spread his domain to scan the place, a hint of warning flashed past him. Looking ahead, a hidden weapon was pointed before him. Although Goldfiend felt that it wouldn't harm him, the threat still made him stop what he was doing. A dimensional weapon? TSK, this Maximus is really cautious. As the richest man alive, Goldfiend had bought many weapons from Maximus, so he still knew the division of weapons. Feeling multiple dimensional weapons stationed in the empire, he could only admire the richness of the Moonlight Empire. While Goldfiend was in a daze, a man came up to him. This gentleman, welcome to the Moonlight Empire. Goldian just nodded, not showing his majestic aura. Goldfiend was merely here to investigate the economic potential of the Moonlight Empire, not to cause a scene. This gentleman, before going further in the empire, one would need to register their identity.
Ayo?
Lead the way. He nodded in understanding. Soon after filling out various information, the guide gave him a token. Just like the one in the Arcane Continent, Goldfiend muttered in amusement. Identification tokens were only prevalent in the Arcane Continent because it was the only continent that could afford them and manage them properly. In other continents, it's either too chaotic or too expensive to equip all of its inhabitants. Thus, seeing such a token, his interest in the Moonlight Empire went up a notch. As Goldfiend explored the place, there was doubt on his face. Instead of a token, there was a panel in front of the people. Based on his induction, such a panel was made of a multitude of various frequencies, from elements to law.
What is that?
Goldfiend stopped a pedestrian and asked. Are you from another continent? The man asked. After all, besides infants who didn't have minds of their own, everyone in the Empire knew of the Empire system. Yes, I just came here. Oh, that's right, the Empire is open to the outside world now, the man nodded as he remembered. This is the Empire system, the explanation should be in the Moonlight Forum. Empire system? Moonlight Forum? It's in your token, you should look at it, there should be a beginner's guide in it. A beginner's guide? Yes, thank you for your help. After finding a place to sit down, Goldfiend took out his token and carefully studied it. Initially, he thought it was a mere token with identical functions to the one in the Arcane Continent. From identification, banking, contracts, and such. However, it seems that it was much more advanced, like those special tokens. Opening the token, he injected a trace of mana. Vanderreich. Personal information. Bank. City map. Moonlight Forum. This also has a map? And it's quite detailed too. Goldfiend muttered in amazement. In the Arcane Continent, only people who have special tokens could access these advanced functions. As for the token given for free, it has mere basic functions. Looking at the bird's-eye view of the city, that he could zoom in and zoom out. He was amazed that such a backward empire was capable of such a thing. Opening the Moonlight Forum, Goldfiend quickly found the Beginner's Guide. Beginner's Guide. This is a guidebook created by the Chief of Foreign Affairs for visitors. 1. Don't disrespect the Emperor in any way, any form of insult to the Emperor is punishable by the most cruel death. 2. Any form of harm or insult to the Empire would get you fined or imprisoned, depending on the degree. 3. Looking at the thousands of guides written in it, Goldfiend's lips twitched. This isn't much of a guide, instead it's a brief overview of the Moonlight Empire law. Furthermore, it's so strict that Goldfiend feels like he was in the city of Arcana. Goldfiend already imagined many individuals from other continents being fined or punished in the coming months. Fortunately, the Moonlight Empire seemed to have enough force to enforce such rules so that it wouldn't be too chaotic. However, what interested him more was the Empire system. Such a tiny piece of marvel that could do miracles was the first he saw in the world. The mana bank, the shadow apps, and the calculation speed. If this thing were spread in the Arcane Continent, it might make its efficiency multiply to a huge degree. Such an enormous upgrade would make the Arcane Continent the leader of the world, surpassing its competitors by a large degree. Seeing such a piece of marvel in front of him, Goldfiend's senses were tingling as he imagined the earth-shaking changes that were about to happen in the Ethereum realm. A Maximus Shadowcrest, I can't wait to see you. Chapter 348 Wedding Day. A few weeks later, Maximus, with his family and friends, began the wedding ceremony. As he gazed at his endlessly charming wives, Maximus couldn't help but fall into a daze. It had been about 300 years since he transmigrated into this world. From a fledgling noble without even a hint of family, Maximus had reached a point where he had 11 wives, 13 children, 5 daughters-in-law, and 4 grandchildren. In 300 years, having 34 people that he can call a family, Maximus is already satisfied. However, as the owner of the family and power system, he could be considered unworthy. Just dozens of family members? If it were someone else, although they might not reach 1 million, they would probably have at least tens of thousands of family members. Although this world limits the number of one's descendants, it doesn't limit the number of partners one can have. Unfortunately, once Maximus reached a certain point, his heart hardened. No beauty could capture his heart anymore. Even if the system vouched for it, giving someone a high rating. For him, it was just that. Fortunately, he had already found an alternative path, rendering the system still useful. Absorbing the energy of the world with the leverage of his family? It was too inefficient. Spoon-feeding energy into his system with his unlimited energy was the way to go. After exchanging vows and making promises, the party continued. Hundreds of years passed and generations of time. Hazel's family, from her parents to her siblings, multiplied to thousands. The original farmer's origins now looked like a fully fledged noble family that had seen everything in the world. Hazel's family was now one of the top families in the Moonlight Empire, with the largest land, promoting agriculture and aquaculture in the empire. Fortunately, under the teaching of their parents, they didn't become too arrogant. Then there's Erica's father, the chubby middle-aged man Francis. Owning most of the restaurants in the Moonlight Empire and being the godfather of gastronomy. Francis was a famous figure in the empire. He was also the favorite uncle of his children, often exploring the wonders of food. Francis is also quite pure, no woman or glory could seduce him, only food. Rose's family also prospered. They became one of the top scholarly family, with many of their branches managing the empire. With absolute strength, Maximus didn't care if there was any nepotism involved. As long as the empire ran smoothly, he would turn a blind eye to it. There is also Irene's family dominating various industries in the empire. From textiles to alchemy and mechanics, it can be said that they are one of the richest families in the empire. As for Emma's family, the former Arinder Empire. With business cooperation with Maximus over 100 years ago, they were already doing quite well in the Arcane continent. Maximus also gave them land decades ago to settle in the Moonlight Empire. Overall, his wife's families were doing quite well. With his protection, their lives were smooth sailing with no one in their way. While having a banquet, Maximus suddenly felt over 1,000 apex sovereigns coming to them. "Adine," Maximus muttered, seeing Fialon. As for the others, they were mostly the apex sovereigns who usually traded with him. He also saw Lilith with his sister Freya. Earlier, he also invited Lilith, however, because she was busy with her training and her sister restricted her, she could not come. Seeing her come, it seemed that she managed to finish her insane training schedule. Maximus, I am here to congratulate you for becoming the Holy Emperor of the Cursed Continent. Furthermore, it seems that it was also your wedding. Congratulations, Fialon said formally. Thank you, Dean. We are also here to extend our greetings, the others said, giving their gifts one by one. Thank you. Although Maximus had a smile on his face, he didn't think that their visit was purely to congratulate him. Let us eat first, Maximus suggested. Not wanting to disturb the event, they also held back their intentions. Seeing them seated gracefully and smilingly interacting with his family relatives, Maximus heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it seemed that they were not here with bad intentions. Otherwise, 1,000 apex sovereigns could wreak havoc in the empire. As they got seated, Dean, Freya, and Lilith flew toward him. Brat, you didn't tell me that today is your wedding. If not for my daughter telling me, I wouldn't even know, Fialon said, sounding like an old grandfather. I didn't want to disturb you with your busy schedule, Dean, Maximus said helplessly. As one of the top powerhouses in the Ethereum realm, although Fialon could clone himself, the tasks he did every day were enormous. To develop the Arcane continent today was all due to his relentless effort. However, after processing what Fialon had said, Maximus paused. Daughter? Maximus asked with puzzlement on his face, looking at Freya. Yes, Freya and Lilith are my daughters. Didn't you know? Fialon asked with a smile that wasn't quite a smile. This, Maximus was a little dumbfounded, looking at the three individuals in front of him. As far as he knew, Fialon was quite ascetic, he saw and treated everyone as grass, not even having a partner. Furthermore, Lilith was only a few hundred years old. How could she possibly be Fialon's daughter? Our father conceived us with a special method. We are what you call innate beings, Freya explained, looking at the man in front of her with interest. Such a beautiful man, it's no wonder her sister was so infatuated. Even his daughters was such a cute little creatures. Innate beings, like the born creatures of the world? Fialon just nodded without explaining further. Although Fialon was ascetic, his love for the world was immeasurable. As the abyss drew nearer and nearer, his worries grew deeper and deeper. Wanting to solve this predicament, Fialon followed a taboo method and conceived Freya with the help of the Ethereum world origin. Unfortunately, although the experiment succeeded, Freya was not what he expected. Although Freya was a genius at fighting, even close to Malgren, she had one glaring flaw, the desire for beauty. Freya could fight and kill anything that didn't catch her eye. However, if a beautiful thing were in front of her, even if it was the most evil thing, Freya would be reluctant to kill it. Such a glaring flaw couldn't withstand the sinisterness of the abyss. Not wanting to risk it, Fialon continued to create another being. Thus, after thousands of epochs, Lilith was born. Fialon thought he would succeed this time. Unfortunately, it seemed that Lilith was more of a failure than Freya. Lilith didn't even have a physique, only possessing a trash potential at birth. Furthermore, even after a huge amount of resources were invested, Lilith's potential seemed to be locked at rank 8. No matter how much origin mana or world origin fragment was invested, Lilith couldn't awaken her physique. After 2 consecutive failures, Fiallan was ready to give up. However, instead of disposing of the 2 beings he created, Fiallan treated them as his daughters, giving them the best of the world. Thus, under Lilith's constant chatter, Fiallan's eyes could be said to be locked onto Maximus. From his advancements, mysteriousness, adventures, to his work, Fiallan witnessed all of it. Although he was nonchalant on the surface, Fiallan treated Maximus as a special student, giving him secret protection. Otherwise, how could the hungry wolves of Apex Sovereigns watch Maximus wave a piece of juicy meat without biting? Without his secret protection, the attacks Maximus encountered wouldn't only be a couple of high gods. Looking at his future son-in-law, Fiallan sighed.
Is that so?
Although he didn't understand the whole thing, looking at Fiallan's melancholy look, there was probably a deeper secret than this. Although Maximus wanted to dig deeper, looking at Freya and Lilith staring at him intently, he felt a little embarrassed.
Is there something on my face?
Yes, Freya, eyes closed face. And no, Lilith, _. Seeing the subtle atmosphere, Fiallan let out another heavy sigh and quietly exited the scene.
Yes?
Maximus muttered suspiciously, touching his face. Yes, it's quite handsome, Freya said straightforwardly, pinching his cheeks. Maximus, straight face.
A sister.
Lilith blushed, holding her sister back.
A what?
I'm just checking if it's real. Still, don't be rude, sister. Looking at Freya's straightforwardness, Maximus smiled in amusement.
How is it?
It's quite good. I want to touch it more, Freya said emotionlessly.
A sister.
Now Lilith was as red as a tomato, embarrassed by her sister's boldness. You can also touch it, Lilith, Maximus said, pinching Lilith's red tomato face. Gar, really?
Yes.
Then let me touch. Taking her hand to Maximus' face, Lilith trembled. Seeing such a cute Lilith, Maximus couldn't help but inch closer to her face.
Is this better?
Too close. Lilith quickly backed out. Ha, I'm just joking.
How about we eat first?
Yes, Lilith heaved a sigh of relief, seeing the change in topic.
Where's my beautiful niece?
Freya nodded nonchalantly, looking for Lila and Asha. Ha, they're inside. Come. Chapter 349 Intelligent World Origin. A few days later. After flirting with his wives and Lilith, Maximus turned his attention to the unexpected visitors. A few days of feasting and merriment seemed to have whittled their patience. Bidding farewell to his wives, telling them to prepare for their honeymoon, Maximus met them out. These gentlemen, shall we continue in the conference room? He invited. That would be appropriate, Goldfiend Vanderbilt, the group's representative, agreed. As for Fiallan, he had already returned to the Arcane Continent after offering his congratulations. Being the most influential and having the most interaction with Maximus, Goldfiend was chosen as their representative. In the conference room. Observing the solemn atmosphere, Maximus spoke directly.
What is it that you want?
He didn't have time for wordplays, his schedule was already packed and he didn't want to add any more. We are here to initiate another transaction and also to invite you to the Ethereum Alliance formally. Goldfiend started.
The Ethereum Alliance?
The one like in the Abyss?
Yes, quite so.
Though the Ethereum Alliance is somewhat different. The Ethereum Alliance is selective, allowing only Apex Sovereigns to join. But I am not yet an Apex Sovereign.
Moreover, what benefits would I get from joining such an alliance?
Indeed, you are not yet an Apex Sovereign, but you possess the power of one. As for the benefits, you will naturally learn upon joining.
Could I disagree?
Maximus asked in amusement. He cared little for the so-called alliance, merely hearing about it sounded troublesome. Interesting, Goldfiend chuckled upon hearing his response. Without asking anything, Maximus just disagreed directly. It seemed that this kid was hiding more than I thought.
What's so amusing?
You see, we are not asking you, we are informing you. We were merely being respectful in extending the invitation. As for disagreeing, that is impossible. It is not us who are asking you to join, but the World Origin. The World Origin? Has the Ethereum World Origin gained consciousness to form a group of its own? Maximus asked in amazement. Though he knew it had some degree of consciousness to interact with the world directly, Maximus didn't expect the World Origin to advance to this extent. What had Valoros done to imbue this dimension's World Origin with such intelligence? From aiding in the creation of virtual worlds, bestowing rewards, condensing crystal merits, to now forming its group, it was much more capable than he had anticipated. It is far more intelligent than you think. Despite lacking a physical form, it is capable of everything an individual can do. Just what is this World Origin? Maximus frowned and fell into deep thought. Aren't you worried that it would directly attack us? If it had that capability, it would have already wiped out the world's population. Why go through all the trouble? Goldfiend said helplessly. After wiping out all of the population, the Ethereum realm would surely advance to Tier 11 dimension. By then, a mere abyss threatening it would be nothing but a side dish. It could then repopulate the world in just thousands of epochs. The capability of the World Origin is truly endless, rendering them helpless. Then why can't it attack us? It should be due to dimensional restrictions. The World Origin can't harm any of its aborigines, much like a human who can't directly kill a virus in its body. So that's it, Maximus nodded in understanding. Although the World Origin can do everything and more, it couldn't harm its own body. The only thing it could do was to strengthen itself, utilizing all kinds of tricks. So, how do I join this so-called alliance? You should have already been marked. Marked? Where? In your body. Where could it be? Goldfiend said, looking for the mark on Maximus' body. They already unanimously agreed that Maximus is capable enough to join the Ethereum Alliance. After officially inviting Maximus, there should be a mark in his arms. I don't have it. If I had it, I would have noticed. You don't have it? Could it be that you have some special treasure? Goldfiend muttered in surprise. If Maximus really had it, he would want to buy one. After all, no one wants the World Origin to spy on them constantly. Yes, it seems that the treasure worked, Maximus said softly. However, in reality, there was no such treasure. How could he guard against something if he didn't even know about it? It should be his ultimate physique. In the past, when Fialon took them to the core of the World Origin also couldn't do anything against him and Sky. You really have it? Could I buy one? Let me see if there's still some. Maximus didn't know if there was a treasure like that in the Myriad World Mall, so he didn't immediately answer. Anyway, now how do I join? Just deactivate your treasure for a second and the World Origin should contact you. Bam! Feeling his physique, Maximus tried to lower its presence. After upgrading it to rank 10, Maximus's control over his physique also got stronger, speeding his regeneration from milliseconds to nanoseconds. Lowering the barrier of his ultimate physique just meant lowering its mana generation. Soon, Maximus felt some origin energy gathering in his body. Feeling it only latch in his physical flesh, Maximus didn't worry. He could cut off his head and still live, much less an arm. This should also be why those Apex sovereigns didn't worry about the threat of the World Origin. If this energy directly merged with his soul, then he would really worry. Binding. Welcome to the Ethereum Alliance, Maximus Shadowcrest. A panel appeared in front of him. TSK, this World Origin can also keep up with time. After learning for an endless amount of time, the World Origin is proficient in everything. It can be said that it's a Tier 9 mechanic, alchemist, formation master, forging master, rune master, etc. Any knowledge spread in the World Origin knows and masters. What a monster, Maximus muttered in amazement. Fortunately, it seemed that the World Origin couldn't peer through him, otherwise it would also know all of his secrets. Soon after a bit of buffering, a complete system panel appeared. Ethereum Alliance? Ethereum Forum? Merit Hall. Mission Hall. Merits, 1 sextillion 3 quintillion 602 quadrillion 910 trillion 121 billion 927 million 92,678. Merits? Maximus muttered in puzzlement, seeing over 1 septillion merits in his panel. Furthermore, every second, the number jumped millions of points. Merits are rewards for the contributions you made to the world. For better comparison, every merit is equivalent to a crystal merit in the abyss. But of course, Ethereum merits are much more useful, does higher the exchange rate. Maximus nodded, but thoughts couldn't help but churn in his mind. He somewhat understood what merits were. Like if someone planted trees, it could strengthen the roots of the earth. Or educate a large number of people, contributing to the overall strength of its being. What puzzled him was why his merits were increasing so much. He understood that what he was doing for the Cursed Continent was worthy of merit. However, to have jumped millions of points every second, there must be something wrong. By the way, how many merits do you receive for the development of your territory?
Ew.
It seems that your merit points are abnormal, Goldfiend joked. In the beginning, after setting up the Ethereum stock market, his points jumped so much that he thought it was the end of the world. As the Emperor of the Cursed Continent and seeing the development of the Moonlight Empire, Maximus's points should be insane. Yes, I don't quite have a grasp yet on how these points were generated. Oh, then let me give you an example. An average apex sovereign ruling a domain in the Arcane Continent, with a population of a few hundred quintillion, could earn about a few hundred million every day. Of course, if they are as ambitious as you, expanding the population at every turn, they could earn a few hundred billion to trillion every day. This is just right. Maximus paused, careful not to reveal the anomaly of his system. While others only have hundreds of millions of merit points every day, he could earn hundreds of billions every day. Based on his estimate, even if the Empire's population doubled every day, this would not be possible. Suddenly, he thought of his physique, the dimensional source. The energy he absorbed shouldn't directly go to him. From void energy, it travels to the Ethereum realm, then to him. In this process, the world origin had plenty of time to absorb the excess energy. Furthermore, with everyone in the Empire churning up his unlimited mana, the amount intercepted by the world origin is immense. Using the system points as a basis, the Ethereum realm should be able to absorb at least a millionth of the energy that his physique produces. The Ethereum realm should be urging him to develop by giving him some merits as temptation. After all, the energy it has given wouldn't disappear, but the energy it absorbs from Maximus is permanent. After concluding the ins and outs of the merits points, Maximus heaved a sigh of relief. As for the use of merits, it should be the Merits Hall. Merit Hall. Chapter 350 Merit Hall. Opening the Merits Hall, two tabs greeted Maximus, the Direct Exchange tab and the Auction tab. Upon opening the Direct Exchange tab, Maximus felt as if he were browsing treasures sold in the Myriad World Mall. From Tier 1 to Tier 9, all treasures unique to the Ethereum realm could be exchanged. However, upon seeing the first few items, Maximus felt a little dismissive. Aside from some rare innate treasures, there was nothing worthy in the exchange. Opening the Selection tab, he noticed a section that made his eyes shine. A growth treasure. The growth treasure section is filled with treasure that could grow. However, what he noticed was the expandable treasures. Earth core, mortal and expandable treasure needed for a dimension to grow, capable of infinitely expanding with mana. Price, 1 quintillion. Steel core, mortal and expandable treasure needed for a dimension to grow, capable of infinitely expanding with mana. Price, 1 quintillion. Gold core mortal. Copper core mortal. Coal core mortal. Diamond core mortal. These treasures were expandable materials, like the atomic god metal. With enough mana, they could expand infinitely, forming the foundation of a dimension. Although the expandable treasures listed in the Merits Hall were only at the mortal level, they were already amazing. Maximus had just put the expansion of the Cursed Continent on the agenda. These expandable treasures were just right for the job, accelerating his plan significantly. However, upon seeing the price, he frowned. A quintillion merit for one. If merit was equivalent to crystal merit, then buying it would be a scam. With a quintillion crystal merit, he could ask someone to dredge enough land from the chaotic sea to expand the Cursed Continent multiple times. Furthermore, it would be at least Tier 3 land nurtured by mana. However, just one of these expandable treasures costs the same. As for buying expandable treasure in the Myriad World Mall, he could only wish. Having an unlimited mana, he had been searching for expandable treasure everywhere. Unfortunately, it seemed to be a precious type of treasure that he couldn't even find anything. Thus, upon seeing that the Ethereum world origin had over 100 expandable treasures, he couldn't help but be amazed. He had read in a book that these expandable treasures were the building blocks of dimensions. It should absorb by the Ethereum realm at its birth. However, seeing them intact made him curious. To make the Ethereum realm so large without any complications, just what did Valoros do? Unfortunately, Valoros' memories about the merging of the Ethereum realm were vague. It seemed as if they had been consciously erased. Maximus even needed to buy countless relevant books to decipher some of the relevant memories. Turning his gaze to over 100 expandable treasures, Maximus gritted his teeth and decisively bought them. Anyway, he had over 1 sextillion merit out of nowhere. Spending it at once didn't make his heart ache much. Furthermore, his ambition was not confined to the Ethereum realm. In the future, once he needed more land, he would spend money nonetheless. It was better to prepare early and not worry later. Seeing over 100 quintillions removed from his balance, Maximus continued to browse the merit hall. The apex sovereign in the room also sat in silence, waiting for Maximus to digest the benefits of joining the Ethereum Alliance. In the past, after they joined the Alliance, they were also stunned. Browsing every item in the merits hall, if it were not for the lack of merits, they would have bought all the items in it. Seeing Maximus's eager face, it seemed that he was reaping a lot of benefits. Soon, Maximus came to the section of small worlds. Small worlds were pockets of space caused by dimensional movement frictions. Looking at billions of small worlds listed in the merits hall, Maximus nearly cursed. No wonder small worlds were so rare. This unscrupulous world origin had collected them for itself. After over 100 of years of traveling across the chaotic sea, the guild didn't even find one small world. One could only buy them at those top guilds owned by some apex sovereigns. Not only could the world origin earn money, but even those apex sovereigns could profit by reselling these small worlds. As for buying small worlds in the Myriad World Mall, it couldn't be done. The dimensional laws prevented any small world that was not born from its laws. Even if Maximus bought it, it would be treated as a virus to be destroyed by the dimensional laws. Of course, if a small world had complete laws and was strong enough, it could withstand the dimensional laws. Unfortunately, there was no such thing for sale. Even if there were, Maximus doubted if he could afford it. A small world with complete laws was already equivalent to a small dimension. Of course, Maximus had another alternative. If Maximus isolated the small world in his storage dimension, the small world wouldn't be destroyed, no matter which dimension he was in. Looking at the billions of small worlds, Maximus applied a filter, showing only Tier 7 to Tier 9 small worlds. For Tier 9 small worlds, there were only 3 available. Lottie's World, a small world with complete lunar law and a hint of space law. Price, 100 quintillion. Insect Beast World, a mutated insect small world. Price, 300 quintillion. White World, an absolute still world, all matters and laws that didn't surpass the world would be at paused. Price, 700 quintillion. So expensive. Small worlds are divided into 3 categories: comprehension type worlds, resource type worlds, and special type worlds. Comprehension type worlds are filled with law energy, making it easier for individuals to comprehend a specific law. Resource type worlds, on the other hand, are filled with resources such as minerals, plants, biological, etc. Special type worlds have specific functions, like his timeless world, which can accelerate and slow down time. What caught Maximus's eye was the white world. Absolute stillness, meaning everything is at a standstill. No matter what you put in it, it would behave as if stuck in time. This may be useless for others, but for him it's a game. Changer. His timeless world could only slow down time to a huge degree. Studying matter that exceeds the speed of light is of no use, even if it is slowed down a few billion times. Furthermore, some substances behave differently as time passes. However, if it were still or in a paused state, it would be constant without change in its properties, making it convenient for observation. However, looking at the price, Maximus's heart started to ache. 700 quintillion? This was the most expensive single item he had ever seen. Although he could spend sextillions of dimensional coins, it's not for individual items. Shelving the idea of buying the white world, he browsed the lower tier small worlds. There were hundreds of Tier 8 small worlds. From comprehension type worlds to special type worlds, unfortunately, they were not too rare. The laws, resources, and function of these small worlds were too common. Other apex sovereigns must have bought the other rare small worlds. As for Tier 7 small worlds, there were tens of thousands of them. Furthermore, unlike Tier 8 small worlds, the selection was complete. From a complete selection of comprehension type worlds to some rare special type worlds. Although he didn't necessarily need them, it would be a great addition to the empire. After all, the Cursed Continent is too barren. Without his resource infusion, the cursed continent would have nothing but its land. After buying these Tier 8 and Tier 7 small worlds, the Moonlight Empire would ascend to new heights. These small worlds would be pockets of resources that would provide continuous output for the Empire. After a little calculation, if he bought all these Tier 8 and Tier 7 small worlds, he would need over 3 sextillion merits. Seeing his remaining balance, he quietly closed the small world tab. He still needed to work hard and earn money before entertaining his ideas. Opening the magic crystal vein section, Maximus couldn't help but be moved again. The cursed continent is really deficient in mana. Even Moonshadow City, the center of the Empire, only had Tier 9 magic crystal veins. Furthermore, it was used to power the Empire's array, so it didn't have enough energy to feed back into the Empire. Maximus had to invest trillions of dimensional coins every year just to infuse some mana in the Empire. To solve this problem, Maximus even planned to buy magic crystal veins from these Apex sovereigns. Now, seeing that the World Origin directly sold them made it much easier. Furthermore, it's all you can buy magic crystal veins without limit. It seemed that the World Origin could artificially generate them, which is good news. However, looking at the price, Maximus's face went grim. A Tier 9 magic crystal vein costs 100 quadrillion merits. To power the millions of cities in the Empire with at least one crystal vein, he needed hundreds of sextillion merits. Of course, a few tens of thousands of Tier 9 magic crystal veins were enough to raise the Empire's concentration of mana to the same level as the Arcane Continent. Even so, it would still cost him a few sextillion merits. Seeing treasures that he liked but couldn't buy, Maximus smiled wryly. Originally, he was proud of his wealth. But seeing that it couldn't even feed his empire brought him back to reality. There are still many things he couldn't achieve with his strength and wealth. Things were far from over, he was just getting started. Thinking about this, Maximus felt better. Just wait, I'll make this merits haul as bare as it can be, Maximus vowed internally.